Hey guys, Will King here, High Cotton Homes in Florence, Alabama. And today I have a special guest, Paige from Huber, on the Advantech team, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
So today on the Build Show, we're going to be talking about Xfactor, why they developed Xfactor from Huber, where that came from as far as the idea and the technology behind it, and my experience here at our Robbins Beach Road job. So let's get inside and take a look. All right, guys, we're inside our project today, and I'm talking to Paige about Xfactor. So, Paige, I guess to start with, tell me, I guess, the big benefits and why you developed this stuff. So let's start there.
Great question. We get it all the time. They're like, why would you develop something better than Advantech? But we're constantly going through our builders and really trying to figure out, is it meeting their needs and what else could we potentially help them out with as far as meeting those builder needs. And one thing that we found was the custom builder, they loved Advantech. They really needed something just more durable on the job site for longer construction phases that can just handle that wear and tear and then can handle bulk water and still be as flat as possible for those extended phases.
Right.
So through that research and getting all that information, we developed Advantech Xfactor with the overlay. So it's not the same overlay as Zip. The composition's a little bit different and it's designed for the floor specifically.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think we're all familiar as builders with the durability of Zip system, even by itself. And so I guess using some of that technology to bring into Advantech is kind of a no-brainer.
Makes sense. Right. Yeah. A lot of people have been asking for Zip on the floor, but it's not.
It's not Zip on the floor. But I think so that's where it kind of came from. But so we're adding an overlayment that totally separates the water from the wood. Is it legal in Huber's world to tape Advantech?
Yes, you can tape it, but there are some considerations that you got to think about. So on multifamily projects, they will tape it so that they can start running mechanicals on the floors below to keep water out of it.
Nice.
So when you're looking at custom home builders, you can tape it, especially if you want to have that air barrier. You've got to make sure you also seal the seams. But I wouldn't put a glue down or a glue down assist on the top of Zip tape. Yeah,
it's not compatible. May not be compatible with the Zip tape, right? If you were gluing down a floor.
Yeah, but if you're doing like a floating floor or carpet, yeah, go ahead, go for it.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you're doing a blower door, you would still want to make sure those seams are taped.
Right.
Make sure you have that compartmentalization.
Okay.
So you can tape it, but if you're doing what you have here, which is a glue down assist, you can just use the glue right in the seams. Make sure you seal it up nice and tight.
So you could even do that during framing. If you knew you were going to do a glue down assist floor or a glue down floor, you could go ahead and get the glue and come through and just fill in the seams. Yeah. And voila, we have a total barrier. So that would be getting ahead, but also not having to rip tape up later if you're having to put down floor. So
yeah, that would be a little tough to do.
So I think one question I have is, was the Xfactor team thinking about drawing on the floors when you developed Xfactor?
Honestly, we were not. When we started, it's so interesting. So when we started taking it out to the job sites, because we do field test it before we start to put it in the marketplace. I mean, this has been in development for years before we actually launched it. One of the key benefits that the builders start coming back with is it's so much easier to clean and it's so much easier to see pop lines and layouts and communicate to my trades on the subfloor because before drywall goes up, all of the communication for the trades is, this is your blueprint that you're making those notations on, and it's really easy to see.
I guess, so going through, in the thought of construction, so we framed the house and, we're all in the dry, we got past our mechanicals, and now the next thing that we get into where we talk about our subfloors, our flooring, right? So this is also something, to be honest, I was not even considering the benefit, the value add of Xfactor to our flooring installation. But after talking to you today, I'm realizing that, about the compatibility of the glue, no primer, the nice flat surface, like all those things totally make sense. And, one question I get asked a lot is just like the cost difference between them, and if it really is marginal. There's very little price difference for me in my market between the two panels. But we talk about the savings from not adding that primer, maybe even a cheaper glue. That's just going against offsetting that cost increase that we're seeing when we just buy the panel. But tell me about the overlay. So like with glue specifically, and the compatibility. So what's so different with Xfactor when it comes to that?
Yeah, with the overlay, we knew that we had to start looking at compatibility for anything that would go on top of it. And that really took us down this adhesive rabbit hole.
Right.
And we didn't really know what we were going to find at first, but what we did find is that it's extremely compatible with all the different types of adhesives. So water-based, polyurethane-based. So now that you're able to use a cheaper, lower VOC water-based product, you're able to not really have to worry about compatibility or use a primer or use some other wet laid product to make sure that it sticks to the subflooring. And so that just kind of takes all those errors off the table.
I mean, so far I will say we've been very impressed with Xfactor, but it's just really good to hear your perspective on it. So let's keep going, and when we talk about a few more things.
Okay.
Let's go. All right, so Paige, we've already talked about a lot of the benefits of Xfactor, like the durability and the added overlayment and how we can separate water. We talked about how we can draw on it and doodle on it, and all of our, mechanical trades love that. But I think the thing that we should probably touch on, and I think might even be one of the biggest benefits of Xfactor that I have not even thought about until recently, is an air barrier.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So there's 6 sides to an air barrier. And I think that the flooring is one of the most often areas that's overlooked.
I agree.
Yeah, especially, I mean, right now, where are we?
We're standing over a garage.
Yep.
So this is a drive-out garage basement home. So they have that garage. So I know where you're going. We're right over the top of a garage. So we have to have an air barrier so we can block any type of gas fumes or gas cans that may drip, or lawnmowers. People put all kinds of random things in there, even chlorine. I've seen that, and I try to no, don't put pool chemicals.
You got some pool chemicals in there. That's right.
Yeah. But so how do we do that with Xfactor? Like, why is it? How's that going to work?
Yeah, I mean, it's super simple. You've already put your glue down for your joist, and when you're installing it, and then you just simply go back and you conceal the seams around it, and that's really important. Whether you're putting down a glue assist floor, you trowel in that glue in those seams, or even if you're doing a floating form, we've talked about that before, you can tape it. Because as we start looking at like tighter building codes requirements for air changes per hour, when you're getting down to 3 air changes per hour and lower, I mean, you really are looking for those cracks. That's why we tape our sheathing on the wall. So to your point, the first thing the industry did was look at walls. Now it's time to look at the floor.
And I know that I have been very much, like, our blower door test has been more challenging to get a better score on crawl space houses and basement homes. And so, I mean, that's going to be, I can't believe, like, that's just a big thing to think about, is by now, instead of, like, in my mind, instead of putting an air barrier on the crawl space walls coming up and across the base of our crawl space, now we can achieve it with just our subfloor and really be focused on that. So that's a big deal for us, And I think so one thing with that too is going to be like in a garage specific area. So I've been achieving that over time with spray foam. And there's people who have more, I guess, critiques of spray foam than others. We've had good success with it, honestly. But I think talking about achieving that air barrier now with something like Xfactor, that then gives us the ability to use something like a rock wool bat or stone wool bat over, I would go above our drywall, and just to add to a more, I guess, fire resistive envelope in an area like a garage where cars catch on fire. That's not a surprise to anybody. It's not just Teslas that we hear in the news. I mean, I've seen lots of cars, and as a fireman, that have caught on fire in garages and burnt the whole house down. So being able to isolate that and not have to worry about an air barrier, because now we can put it up top, to me, that's a huge benefit. And I think one more thing on like crawl spaces specifically is just keeping that stale air. Even though we can encapsulate a crawl space and it may be conditioned and dry and those kind of things, last time I checked, people don't go to their crawl space and clean, right? So it's going to get dirty. And if you're not having a good barrier and we're having infiltration coming up, which happens in most houses, like, that's going to be a big difference, I think, in the overall air quality of a house. To me, that goes to show the constant looking at better results from Huber. And man, do we appreciate that.
I appreciate it. Well, thanks for having us out.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. This has been great. So guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Just remember, iron sharpens iron, so keep grinding, keep watching, and we'll see you right here on The Build Show.